Morning, guys. Welcome to Jus Piddlin BBQ, the morning show. Thank you for joining me this morning on the first morning show. Southeast Georgia, 53 degrees, 15 to 20 mile an hour winds. The high today is 53, which is what it is right now. Good morning, Jay. How are you this morning? Thank you for joining me. The high is 53, and it's 53 right now, so this is as good as it's going to get. Temperature's going to start dropping, and I think tonight the low is 30. The wind is whipping out there. I can see the water on the pool looks like it's got waves in it out there. Steven, good morning, brother. Good to see y'all up and at 'em this morning. Thank y'all for joining. I want to do this little morning show just because get up, have a little coffee with y'all, and talk about a little barbecue, but be a little more laid back than the other live stream on Wednesday nights. Don't know how many more are going to show up because most people today on Sunday mornings, well, they're not up yet. Eastern North Carolina, 58. High today is what it is right now, low at 32. Sounds about right. I think our low is 30 tonight. Michael, good morning, brother. Good morning. Gavin, good day from down under. Good day, Gavin. Gavin, what part of Australia? I always wanted to go to Australia. I always wanted to talk like an Australian. I think I'll aggravate my wife today and just go around talking like Mick Dundee. Darwin, Northern Territory. Man, that's awesome. Gavin, you might be the first person out of the United States that I've had show up on my live feeds. Matter of fact, I'm pretty sure you are. Congratulations. Well, I just want this live feed in the morning show, to start off and just be a little bit more relaxed way for us to wake up on a Sunday morning. So I figured it'd be a good way to do that. Wake up with you guys. Have a little cup of coffee. Probably going to be shorter than my other live feeds. Good morning, John. Still at work. Holy cow, man. The high is now and the low tonight is 20. Wow. And we're getting some wind. Let me tell you how I got it set up here, guys. Working nights on the railroad. 9:30 p.m. in Australia. Gavin, what's the weather like in down under? John, when I got out of the Marine Corps, I started working at Frito-Lay at a warehouse, and I worked the weekend night shift. I worked 4/12s. And man, that was brutal. That was brutal. So I feel your pain, brother. But the way I got it set up here is hopefully when it gets a little warmer, the weather's nicer, I can do this morning show outside on my back deck out there, and maybe you can see the sunrise. You can start see it lightening up a little bit out there, it looks like, from my other screen right here. I got a fence right here. I got a light turned on outside. Maybe y'all can see. Y'all can see I got some coastal bushes planted out here on the other side of the window here. You can see those blowing. Wind's killing it out there, but I got a fence, and right across the fence over my left shoulder where the sun comes up, so maybe I'll get a glimpse of that, although it's supposed to be cloudy today. Looks like it's cloudy now. But I got this set up from a YouTube guy. $80 degrees right now. Feels like 89 in Australia. How about that? Gavin, I appreciate you tuning in, man. But y'all need to just check him out. It's a guy named George Bruno on YouTube. George Bruno. I got this set up kind of from him when I started thinking about doing a morning show. I just looked up morning shows, and his channel popped up. And he always does his from inside the house. Hopefully I can move mine outside when the weather's nice, but his morning show, he's got a setup kind of like this where you can see out the window. Adds a little bit of light coming in and that kind of thing. So I thought that'd be a good idea. But y'all go check out his YouTube channel. Now he just talks about being men, manly advice, and stuff like that. So pretty cool channel. Y'all check it out. But that's why I got it set up like this today. Gavin, I appreciate that, man. Thank you very much. Gavin, you got me curious, man. What's y'all's favorite thing to cook down there in Australia, barbecue-wise? And I think lots of times y'all do it over more of an open pit, right? I'm curious to learn a little bit more about that. But while we're, I had mentioned that I want to do more of a barbecue news kind of thing. So I was looking online, and trying to find barbecue magazines and stuff like that. And I thought, I've got barbecue articles in my closet in there that my mama wrote. And so I went in there and dug them out and dug out all the Buckmaster magazines. You can see that my mama wrote articles in. And if y'all aren't familiar with Buckmaster magazine, these are from the late 90s. This article is 1999, the December 98, January 99 edition. And Jackie Bushman was the creator, I guess, publisher. And he may still be. I'm not sure. I haven't even checked to see if there's a Buckmaster magazine today. Anyway, there's my mom right there. And this is her article. And her column was called Wild Cooking. And let me read you this first. And this kind of goes back to why I started my channel. And I had not read this. I don't know if I have ever read it. until last night. And when I read it, I just smiled, because if you go back and look at my intro to my channel, a lot of the things sound very similar. I'm just going to read you this first paragraph. It says, and this is her very first article in Buckmaster. It says, in this, my first Buckmaster column, I think it's appropriate to explain my vision for wild cooking. First, I want to entice the novice so he or she will be willing to try. Thus, I'm going to keep it simple. Second, I will emphasize versatility with recipes that can be prepared as easily in the wilderness as at home. Third, I'll use humor to get the message across that cooking venison isn't as serious an undertaking as most people think. And fourth, I'll convey helpful information which will assist in taking care of the meat before it ever hits the frying pan, thus enhancing the finished product. And that's kind of why I do my channel. I want to share. I want to help people, everyday guys in the backyard. I've said that 1,000 times probably. John, that's funny. Kevin was in the military and spent some time in the desert, if you know what I mean. Yes, sir, I do. We had a great cook up at home base one night. That's what got me started back in 2003. That's awesome. Kevin says, just cook some brisket and ribs in the Traeger tonight. That's awesome. Great stuff. Awesome. But you know, like Mama said, helping the novice so that they get involved and start doing that kind of thing. Showing a little humor every now and then. It took me a while to start doing that on my channel. John, tell your wife I said good morning. That's good. Talking a little bit lower tone this morning because my wife's still in the bed, so I'm on the other side of the house in one of our guest rooms. Me and Sam is going to get a bath today. But you have to appreciate and thank your wives. I know I told my wife I was going to do the morning show now, and she's like, Lord help. So my alarm went off at 6 this morning, and now I'm up doing this while she's still sleeping. So that's right, Stephen. That's what it's all about. That's exactly what it's all about. One of the tips I want to share this morning was I found another article my mom did, and I've told y'all 100 times that my favorite thing to cook is Boston butts. Well, she's got a whole article on Boston butts on the barbecue. And one of the things that she says in here is, and I do it every time that I do barbecue, really. One of the tips that she has in here is, she says, for years I couldn't stand the taste of reheating pork or chicken because it always had such a peculiar leftover flavor. And y'all know, anytime you do a big piece of meat, most of the time there's some leftovers. If it's just, you know, you and your family and everybody. And And so the last time I did 2 Boston butts, I put one of them, I chopped one of them up and put it in the freezer, divided into 4 equal gallon size bags. So there's probably about 2 pounds in each bag. But this is what I did, and it's because of my mom and what it says in this article. She said, I learned while in the barbecue business that applying the thin sauce helps overcome this problem because the vinegar in the sauce serves as a preservative. Now, keep in mind, down here in South Georgia, we use a vinegar-based sauce more times than not. I'm not a big fan of the sweet sauces very much. So we use more of a vinegar/mustard sauce. And long story short, what she would do is, and her recipe is 2 parts sauce, 1 part water. And so you just mix some of that up, 2 parts sauce, 1 part water in a bowl or whatever you want to mix it up in. And if you're gonna, the leftovers, say you got it in a metal pan and you're gonna put it in the refrigerator overnight and have leftovers tomorrow, pour some of that thin sauce over your meat, mix it in together, and then put it up. And then the next day when you reheat it, it's not going to be dry. It's going to be moist. You're going to have some of that flavor from your sauce in it already, and it's going to be 100 times better. And so before I put those bags up in the freezer, that's what I did with all of those. I mixed that whole pan full of my thin sauce, then divided it in my bags and put it up. So now when I reheat it, it's going to be a lot moister, and it's going to have a lot better flavor. It's not going to taste like leftover meat that's been in the freezer. So y'all give that a try. On a red wine. I hear you, Gavin. I have a question. I don't know if it's y'all too or what. Well, John, let me ask, that's strange. What are you cooking it on first, John? And then, which I guess that really wouldn't matter because I'm assuming you're cooking all your meat on the same grills. So that really doesn't matter. I wonder if it has to do with how much fat is in your Boston butts. Okay. How much fat's in your Boston butts and how you chop them up and how much fat you're incorporating back into the meat, maybe. That's strange. That's the only thing that I could figure that would cause that, John. Because your sauces, you're going to use those in whatever meat that you cook too. So it's not going to be that. That's the only thing I could figure is maybe. Yeah. Maybe try just not incorporating as much fat back into the meat when you chop it and see if that helps. I'm going to tell you, Mark, what kind of coffee rub are you using? That coffee rub is excellent on a pork butt. Yeah, Stephen, that's a good point too. Sometimes some of the, I mean, well, my mom even says in here in this article, I'm not going to try to find it, but basically she had a very long pit at her little barbecue restaurant. She used nothing but red oak, and she fed the wood in on this end. The meat was on this end, smokestack on that end, so it pulled it all the way through across the meat and out the stack, but she used red oak. And she even said she didn't even season with salt or pepper until the end because she let the red oak do all of the seasoning. And so sometimes the best seasoning could be just salt and pepper. Gavin, what I usually like to cook is about an 8-pound Boston butt. I really don't like going any bigger than that. If I want more meat, instead of buying a 12-pound Boston butt, I would rather just buy 2 8-pound Boston butts because it's going to cook a lot. To me, that's just the perfect size for cooking. You get a 12-pounder, and by the time you reach a good internal temp, the outside may have gotten really too dry. And so instead of one 12 or 14-pounder, I'd like to get 2 8-pounders and cook them. So I like an 8-pound Boston butt myself, somewhere around there. Rivers Smokehouse Coffee Rub. 4 Rivers. I haven't tried that, Mark, but I'll tell you. And coffee rubs have a different variations of coffee flavor. But the best coffee flavor that I have found in a coffee rub is Fire and Flavor coffee rub from Lowe's. Lowe's sells it, and I'm sure other people sell it too. I'm finna shoot my dog. Lay down, boy. But that's excellent flavor. Has a little bit of cinnamon in it as well. Great flavor. Now, I also have used Lane's coffee rub. Lane's is probably my second favorite. Also, Midnight Espresso from Tango Joe is a really good coffee rub. Traeger has a good coffee rub. But that Fire and Flavor is hard to beat. My wife loves that Fire and Flavor. So look for that and give it a try. But those coffee rubs are really good, especially on pork. They really are. Used my Yeti cup this morning, but I'm still working on getting us some Jus Piddlin coffee cups. So there's the Buckmaster articles. I'll be sharing some more of those. I found a couple of them that are really good. And I told you the other day, I don't know if y'all saw the Butcher Box video, but I was pretty impressed with what I got in the Butcher Box. And again, they're not a sponsor or anything. The steaks, the ribeyes, looked awesome. I don't know how they're going to taste, but they really looked like high quality ribeyes. So we're going to give those a try now. I tried the sockeye salmon last night. It was really good. I overcooked it a little bit, but it was really good. But what I was impressed with was I tried the bacon. And that bacon, because there was no sugar added or anything like that, there was nothing masking the taste of the pork. And it had a really good, just pure pork flavor, and it was really good. And sometimes, you know, like Steven said a while ago with your seasonings, sometimes, you know, especially with bacon that you're buying from the store, you forget what real bacon is supposed to taste like because it's always flavored with something. So I was really impressed with that bacon. Yeah, Gavin, that's a good point. I always have a bone-in Boston butt. Always have a bone-in Boston butt. It adds a lot more flavor to the meat. Plus, I always like sliding that bone out. If you can slide that bone out with little to no resistance, you know that that thing's done. So I always get a bone-in. Yeah, love me some ribs too. Love me some ribs. But this book that was included with the box, a lot of great info in here. You know, I thought, yeah, there's another lame book that they put in with a box. But I mean, they've got a lot of good recipes in here, a lot of good marinades, a lot of good rubs, meat temps for beginners, all kind of different instructions on here. Grilled New York strip steak, they got a recipe in here on that. A lot of good stuff in the beginning. And I'm going to try some of these. In the beginning, they've got some different types of rubs and marinades and all that stuff. So I'm going to give some of that stuff a try. Also, some boneless butt. Any suggestion on how to cook it or season it? John, I can tell you what you can do. You can do it yourself. Put it in the freezer and get it somewhat frozen, not all the way frozen, to where you can slice it, and then slice it into pork steaks, you know, about ½ inch thick. Or take it up to your local butcher and get him to slice it into pork steaks. And then you can cook them on your smoker, just like a Boston butt. Obviously, it'll take a lot less time. Or you can cook them in a pan like you would, say, a big piece of ham, you know, country ham. Put it in your skillet and cook it that way, more like a breakfast ham. And you can do that. But pork steaks are great like that. Yeah, Mark, that trimming process is, you know, that's a learning curve. And it depends on the slab. You know, you might have to trim one, and then the next time you get some, you may not have to trim at all. And then some, they need to be trimmed, but there's so little meat on some of the racks that if you trim that fat off, you almost get all the way to the bone. So sometimes it's better to just leave it like it is. Yeah, that's right, Stephen. You can smoke that pork steak, and then right at the end, sear it off either on your grill, turn your grill up and sear it that way, or put your cast iron skillet on there and sear it off like that. Grill grates, whatever you have. I don't know if y'all have checked it out, but you know, I was doing some research online, trying to find online resources for barbecue and stuff like that. And probably one of the best resources online that I could find was AmazingRibs.com. And if y'all haven't checked it out, which I'm sure most of you have, y'all go check out AmazingRibs.com. They've got a good site. They've got a lot of good recipes, a lot of good, they do a lot of good grill reviews. And I think they're on YouTube as well. They've got videos on grill reviews and stuff like that. So Go check them out. They've got a lot of good stuff on here. Smoked miso wings, party planning, how much to cook for a crowd. That's a good resource right there. And I see people ask that all the time. How much meat should I cook for 30 people, 40 people, whatever? Well, here's a party planner right here. How much to cook for a crowd. Fried pickles recipe. Texas butter beans, red beans and rice recipe. All kind of stuff. Oysters grilled with roasted garlic butter and Romano recipe. A lot of good stuff on here. So check that out as a resource, AmazingRibs.com. They got tested recipes, technique and science, ratings and reviews, competitions, all kind of stuff. Really good resource. Rick, good morning, sir. Have I smoked venison? Have cooked it before, but I had to slice it thin, cook it quickly. Could you smoke the backstrap? Yes, you can smoke the backstrap or tenderloin. But Gavin, like I mentioned this last week, a guy TNT Barbecue was on, and he was saying that his venison was very gamey and wanted to know if we had any tips for that. And so I gave him a tip that my mom always said to soak gamey meat in buttermilk, and it would draw some of that gamey blood out and give it a milder flavor. But then I also shared one of her favorite recipes, and I think it's in one of those in there, one of the articles that I found, and I'll share that next time. But basically, you just take that back strap or tenderloin and cut it into nuggets, 1 inch by 1 inch nuggets, and soak them in buttermilk for about an hour or two, and then pour the buttermilk off. Wash that buttermilk off with water, drain it, and then pat it dry with a paper towel. Then you're going to take an egg and just beat it to make an egg wash, and then roll your nuggets around in the egg wash, and then roll them in flour, and then fry them. Get your pan about where it covers about 3/4 of the nugget in your skillet, and then just fry them in your pan. You'll have to turn them once or twice, and then drain them on a paper towel, and then they are tender, they are juicy, they are just right. And then do that half the batch, and then the other half do them with cornmeal, and see which one you like. I always prefer the one with cornmeal. But my mom mentions, I read the article last night, my mom mentions in her article that how she came up with the cornmeal was by accident, that she'd always done them with flour. But we were on a camping trip, and she had a camping light, but the light went out. I don't know if the battery went out or the bulb blew, whatever. But she thought she was grabbing flour, but she grabbed cornmeal instead and made those by accident. And it ended up being her favorite way to do them. So try them both ways, but my favorite way was with cornmeal. But you can also do it on the smoker, no doubt about it. You just want to make sure with that deer meat, because it's so lean, that you don't overcook it, because if you overcook it, it's going to be really tough. That's interesting, Gavin. Trying to think of what else. Maybe you could probably try regular milk and see if that works. I just think Mom will probably use buttermilk because the acids in the buttermilk probably breaks it down a little bit, tenderizes the meat a little bit. But You know, regular sweet milk might work, or maybe combining maybe a little bit of sweet milk with some sour cream might do the trick. Very good, John. Very good. So if anybody else has some good resources online or magazines, you know, barbecue magazines, you know, you go to the grocery store and they got that long magazine rack full of magazines. Rarely ever do you see any kind of barbecue magazines, you know. Absolutely, Gavin. Let me know what you find out that works. Yeah, it looks like it's cloudy, so there's not going to be much of a sunrise this morning. Cloudy and windy. Looks like a good day to stay inside today. Although something will be cooked today. We've got to figure out what we're going to cook. Rick, that's a great recipe right there too, and I'm glad you said that because I had forgotten about that. But Gavin, Rick is right. If you take that back strap or that tenderloin and wrap it in bacon, that's going to keep it from drying out and being so tough. That's a great idea. That's exactly right. Perfect. That's a great idea. John, I appreciate you checking in, man. Have a great day. Rick is a legend. He is. 17 degrees tonight. Wow. I'm fixing to go take something out of the freezer as soon as I get off here. I've got chops. I've got steaks. We're not going to do steaks tonight, so either chops or chicken breasts or boneless ribs. The chuck roast will take too long to thaw out, so I may try those pork chops. Those pork chops look good from Butcher Box. I may try those pork chops, see how they do. Just a man like you, Gavin. Oh, Rick, he's humble, ain't he? And again, that's a good point there. Google can find just about anything. All right, guys. Well, we've been on about 40 minutes. I wanted to keep these live streams in the mornings a little bit shorter. So I think I'm going to get off here, take something out of the freezer, get that thawing out, and get the day started. But this was a great way to start it. Mike, good to see you. Deer roast off the leg. Man, chili sounds great, especially on a day like today. Chili does sound great. But I want to thank y'all for joining me on the first morning show, Jus Piddlin BBQ. I'll be back again next Sunday morning, 07. Y'all have a great day. Until next time, I'll be piddling.